Hello, welcome to Stronger in the Difficult Places. I'm your host, Dr. Zoe, and today we have a guest. Her name is Kate Bartley. She's a physical therapist and author, an embodied freedom and transformation coach, specializing in helping service driven women who feel like they're falling apart, overwhelmed, exhausted, and struggling with chronic anxiety, pain, or fatigue. She has an upcoming book called The Good Girl RX, which dives deep into these patterns and how breaking free from them is the missing piece in women's health and a catalyst to healing their body, stepping into the confidence to pursue their dreams. Today, I'm really excited to talk to Kate about the link between insecure attachment, self-abandonment, and chronic stress, and how early relational patterns create cycles of overgiving, people-pleasing, and exhaustion. Tune in to my episode with Kate Bartley. Kate, hi, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Zoe. Appreciate you having me to connect.
Yeah. It's good to see you too. So I've had the privilege of being able to actually see this your book and process, and so I'm excited that it's coming out. So what I'm excited to talk about today is the link between insecure attachment, chronic stress, and self-abandonment.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast before, so I'm
Mhm.
really excited to do that. I think I talked about in the intro that you are a PT, that you specialize in, pain and how would you say it? You say it.
Yeah, I really specialize at some of the things that are driving pain, both physical and emotional, just feeling like just frustrated trying to get on the other side of some type of pain, right?
Yeah.
Get relief and nothing they're trying is working. Yeah.
Can you tell us about your journey to working in this specific area and writing your book called The Good Girl RX?
Yeah.
Good girl prescription.
Yeah, so, like you said, I'm a PT, and I, used to be somebody that was just never had any health problems, never had anything written on my health form or any of that, and, just kinda went through a season of just ongoing health challenges where I could not get my health back and was just starting to have an identity crisis, like, "Who am I if I can't fix myself?" Right? Like, how am I supposed to show up and help someone else
Mhm.
when nothing I'm doing is working to get my own health back? And so it started with the diagnosis of thyroid cancer, and then later down the road, just lots of other stuff that was happening, and, I'd always struggled with back pain and neck pain and migraines and things like that, and during that season, all of that stuff was just really intensifying, and it just felt like my whole body was just breaking down and, just like it was betraying me, right? Like, when you're a mom
Mhm.
and you're a therapist and you're trying to do all these things and your body can't keep up with what you need to get done, it's really frustrating. Anyway, so all of that, yeah, I just got to a breaking point where, I think the pain here became worse than the pain in my
Mm.
body,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just was standing in church one day and just, like, you know how we usually don't let ourselves cry in front of people? Well, I'm just the
Yeah.
worship team sang it as well with my soul, and I'm like, "Can't sing that.
It
I
is not
cannot.
well. Yeah.
That's
Right.
not what I feel right now, and I'm just so tired of this." And I just begin to just boohoo right there in the pew, and I think when I came home that day, it was just like, "Something's gotta change, like, something's gotta change." And I think that was the turning point where I stopped fixating on my body and trying to fix my body and started focusing on my own needs and what needed to change and what needed to be different to support myself and finding my voice and being able to
Mm.
express that and ask for that.
Wow.
And I really think, and then the first thing I did really was I stepped back from some obligations and began to create space to write. Like, I was just was like, there's a chapter in the book that talks about the difficulty and the shame that came up with trying to express that and ask for that time without feeling guilty about it. But I was just like, everything in me, I need to be journaling. I need to be processing through this. I need to be writing. And that was on the other side of going to see the movie La La Land. Have you ever seen that movie?
I haven't. I've heard a lot about it, but I
So,
haven't seen it.
the main actress in it is a writer, and she's
Mm.
writing this playwright, and she's sitting by an open window, and in the movie theater, I just started sobbing, just sobbing, and it wasn't about writing a book at that point, it was just that that is what helps me connect to myself and
Mhm.
helps me to process through what I'm feeling and helps me to release things, get perspective. Just it's just the way that I just my body knew that's what I needed to do first intuitively, and so through that, couple months down the road, I looked up and I was better, and my nervous system was regulated again, and all, and it was like, I think it led me to realize that, what women need when they're struggling with chronic stress and symptoms and all of that is so much deeper than what we're trying to do on the outside.
Mm,
Going on in their life, in the context of their life, the things they're holding in and not expressing, and they're feeling trapped in their lives, all of that stuff, right? Yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, first of all, that's an amazing story, and I'm so glad that you were able to get yourself back to health and now can help other people as well. So many women are not aware. I always say your mind and your body are intimately connected, right? We know that, we know it, but we
Right.
don't really know it.
Right. Yeah.
We don't think about how our emotions, how our moods, how our environment, all of the things, how they actually affect the health of our body.
Yeah.
And I had not considered attachment. So you're connecting this even to insecure attachment. Can
Yeah.
we talk a little bit about that? Because that goes way back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So basically, where that comes in and where I started uncovering that was something I really needed to grow in understanding to support my clients was, as a coach, we learn that if somebody's not experiencing what they want, something feels at risk, something's not
right.
safe.
Mhm, mhm.
And the key reason for them being able to take the actions that they needed to take to support their bodies, to support their nervous systems, to get into a place where healing could occur was the insecurity they felt around taking that action, and
Mm,
which was related to their relationships, right?
mhm,
Like, just like for me, like being able to say, I need space to write. I didn't feel safe to say that to my husband.
yeah,
I mean, like, and it's not a conscious thing. Like, yeah, there's shame there. Like, who are you to think that you should just be able to just throw off work and not support your family and just sit here and sit by an open window and write? Like, like there's all of that. But it's, well, what's the risk of saying that? It's not just the guilt and the shame. It's the risk that somebody might think, you know, think
you're
bad things
selfish?
about us. Think I'm selfish, right? Like, yeah,
Yes.
and they might pull away from me.
Mm,
And again, it's not something we would say cognitively, but when we've learned that growing up, when we've seen people pull away from our big emotions, when we've seen what happens when we try to express ourselves and it doesn't go well, our body holds those memories. It holds that risk, and it won't let us do anything that's going to risk attachment or abandonment.
yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
so we give up our authenticity, we give up our needs, our voice, our desires to preserve attachment.
Mm, my
And so if we're
goodness.
not dealing with or if we're not dealing with that, we're not dealing with the root of anything.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that makes so much sense, especially as I think about even sessions I've had this week with my clients, and I have so many women that will tell me, "I'm afraid to say this to my husband," or "I have to plan it out to figure out how am I going to approach him about this thing," and often it's a thing that they really deeply want and desire,
Mhm.
and it's not selfish, although all of the messages from their childhood, from society, maybe in some ways in their relationship as well, tell them that their needs are selfish, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's not even about there being an issue in your relationship. Although, when you bring this into the relationship, when I say bring this, I mean bring an insecure attachment, an anxious attachment
Mhm.
into a relationship, it's going to affect the relationship, right? And
Yeah.
we connect with certain people who are going to help, unfortunately, perpetuate your attachment issues. Um, but so many women really struggle to be able to be authentic with their relationships and ask for what they need for all of the reasons that you said. One, rejection. I might not get it. I don't it's harder to ask it and then, to risk rejection than to just never ask it because then I don't have to be upset about the rejection, right? And then also, like you said, that feeling of, do I really need it? Do I deserve it? Is it fair? Should I be doing something better or something else? And especially with something like writing, because with writing, especially for writing, for me, even the beginning stages of my writing, there's no guarantee that anyone's ever gonna read what you're writing. There's no guarantee that you're gonna make money
Mhm.
off of this. There's no guarantee that you're gonna get a book
Yeah,
deal.
what am I contributing? How do I spend my time that way? How do I justify it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I had to push through that
Yeah.
myself as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just kinda goes back to you're stirring up just memories of just going through this writing process of that insecurity arising, right? Like, I had to really step into a deep place of trust. Even I'd finally gotten myself on the other side where I was finally making some decent income with my business
Mhm,
after I'd stepped out of the PT clinic and was making a lot less because building a new business takes a
yeah,
lot of investment
real.
and you didn't make a lot at first, Um, and uh, and then I invest this a lot of money into this book process, right?
Mhm,
And when I went and did my proposal for this, like it was a full body 100% yes. Like everything in me knew it was time.
mhm,
I didn't even think through the money. It was just like, "Sorry, we're doing this, like, it
yeah,
has to happen now." And because 'cause I'd been holding these stories in me for so long, you
mm,
know?
mhm,
And, so a lot of insecurity on the other side of that, and I had to work through that to create enough safety to move forward in this book process, right? Because that financial insecurity becomes a thing. But it's like, like, when there's something that triggers you in the when you're doing it, like for me, it was like, okay, I'm not bringing in income because all my focus is on this book. I'm trying to pay off the investment in the book, and I hear my husband say, "Hey, can you come back here and let's look at the budget together?" Or I hear my daughter say, "Hey, why don't we have the money for this?" And well, because mom's being selfish, you know what?
yeah,
And it's nobody's accusing me or anything, but our brains are on the lookout for those threats of what we might be doing wrong that could hurt our family and risk attachment,
mhm, mhm,
right?
yeah,
And so it just takes us into a deep spiral. And and the only way to get on the other side of that is to be able to have the conversations to confirm the opposite. But sometimes, like you were saying, those conversations don't always go so well and they end up confirming the thing that you're afraid of,
absolutely,
you
yes.
know? And so it's challenging, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, and part of the reason why is, like I said, often we connect with people, we couple with people who confirm all of the
Mhm.
issues and things that we have in our life, or because our brain says we need to work on them. So let's find an avoidant, attached person when I'm
Yeah,
this anxious attached person,
yeah,
and let me hook up with that person and
yeah.
see if I can fix this thing. That's what our brain's doing in the background, much to our detriment. So let's walk a woman through that process. Well, let's talk first about some of the physical manifestations of chronic stress, of
Yeah.
attachment issues in relationships, and all the things that we've already been talking about.
Yeah. Well, I like one of my favorite, ways to guide women into this is to use, like, a rope exercise. I don't know if you've ever done that
No,
before
I don't
where
think so.
like, maybe I can play with it with you for a minute. Like, can you think of something that's happening right now that you feel a little, like, stressed about or
Oh, yeah.
yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you
You want
to
me to tell you what it is?
you don't even have to
Oh,
tell us,
okay.
but you can if you want to. It's up to you.
Oh, right now it's my book.
Okay, okay.
That's enough said. Let's go.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
I want you to imagine that this book is out in front of you. It's like sitting in a chair in front of you, or the whole project, right?
right.
And there's a rope that's between you and the book.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And just imagine this rope and you're holding onto the rope and the book's got the other end of the rope. Like what are you doing with the rope?
I'm holding onto the rope, the book's got the other end of the rope. I imagine that I'm using the rope to hold up the book. I'm holding
Mm.
it.
Oh, like physically holding it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now hold that for a little bit and tell me where you feel that in your body.
Hmm. Um, I feel like I feel it in my lower back, like, I feel, like, just tension, like, pulling in my lower back. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because the book's far out there and that's not really good body mechanics to be trying to support. But yeah,
Yeah.
but like, and so, yeah, there's so much that we can learn from that. Like, how are we unconsciously holding, or what are we trying to do unconsciously?
Mm,
Sometimes if it's like a relationship or something, we can tell a lot about if we're anxious attachment there. We may be going like this toward the rope, or if this
Yeah.
book project feels like too much, we might be letting it go, or,
Yeah.
so many things. But once we connect with the energy of that, or that, whether it's anxiety or avoidance or just numb, whatever's happening, then we can connect with what's happening in the body and notice the impact on the body. And so that's where, like, for me, um, one of the things that I notice a lot that impacts my body is, like, when I'm on a call with clients, or like the other day I had 4 back to back, which I don't usually schedule that
Wow.
many in a row because
Yeah.
I need space in between.
Mhm.
And I can come away just feeling a lot of, like, eye strain, um,
Interesting.
because I'm really, like, leaning in to connect and
Mhm.
engage, and I'm
Mhm.
listening, and I'm trying to get on their map, and so, I can go to the eye doctor and work on that, but some of that is my habit. What am I doing that's causing me to stare so intensely and not take a break and not step back and not look away, and
Ah,
right?
yeah.
And so does that answer your question a little bit? Like,
It does, it does, and even after I answered the question, I realized, oh, I mean, that's where I carry my tension is in my lower back. When I tend to have, any kind of health issues, it's usually something to do with my lower back, and,
yeah.
um
So you're trying to hold up things. You hear that?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, trying to hold up everything, really, and so in my mind, I thought, "Okay, and so what I need to do, though, is I actually need to just let go of the rope," right? 'Cause that
Yeah.
book's gonna hold itself up, and all the things are already in motion with it, and I don't really have control over what's going to
Mhm.
happen with it, and what I need to do is let it go, but it's scary to let it go because it
It
feels
is
like,
scary to
"No,
let
if
it
I
go.
just hold on tighter, if I can control, then,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
now
What
it's
what what's the
safer."
benefit? If you control, then what? If I can control this, then what?
Right, that's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is somehow it's safer, or if I can control it, then I'm trying to think of what it is. If I hold on and control, I guess that the outcome will be better.
Right.
Somehow the outcome will be better.
And then think about the opposite, like, what's the risk of letting it go?
The risk of letting it go is then I have the what I call the phantom critic in my mind that says you didn't
Mhm.
try hard enough, you weren't strong enough, you didn't do the things you should have done. If you had controlled it, the outcome would have been better, right?
Right.
I know
Yeah,
it's
and
a lie, but that's what yeah.
yeah. And I think that's where the work starts, right? Like, working with that inner critic, and really building a relationship where you begin to appreciate why
Mm,
that inner critic is there. What's it trying to do for you? What does it want for you?
mhm.
Right? But most of the time, we how is our relationship between like, the part of us that's critic?
Well, I know the purpose of the critic. The phantom
Uh-huh.
critic is trying to protect me. It's trying to
Right.
protect me from hurt. It's trying to protect me from failure. It's trying to protect me from all those things I'm scared of, right? But what was the question? But what
Yeah, like, well, you answered it. Like, what's the positive intention? What does it want for you to keep you from what does it want in relation to this book project?
to keep me from failing.
Yeah.
It wants to help me succeed, but unfortunately, it's doing it in all the wrong ways. It's
Right,
pushing me
right.
in the negative ways, and it's
Yeah,
driving anxiety and all of those
yeah,
things instead
yeah,
of health.
yeah. And that's yeah. So that's the reason that connects to the body is because if we don't look at what our unconscious drivers are, what is our survival drives, right?
Mhm.
That's what drives our habits. Yeah.
Right.
And our habits is what drives it's like driving a car. If we have certain habits around the way we drive the car, and what we're believing as we drive the car is going to impact the car.
Absolutely.
We can take it to a shop over and over again, but if we don't change our habits around the way we're driving the car and what's causing us to drive that way in
Right.
urgency, or
Right.
then we're just spending a lot of money on that stinking car.
Mm. I
It
almost
keeps getting
imagine has I don't know if you've ever done this, but had the emergency brake on and trying to, like, back up or move
yeah,
the car right? And the car will actually kinda do it if the emergency brake isn't on
yeah,
hard enough, but it's damaging to the car.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and all of that's that, we see the self-sabotage, we see that it's backfiring, and it's the strategies aren't necessarily working, but it doesn't make it easier to interrupt that pattern, like, because it's so programmed, it's so unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if those parts of us, those protected parts that don't feel safe, if they don't think we're safe, they're not stepping back and giving us any space to do anything differently.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah.
And so, well,
Mhm.
let's talk about How do we make those protective parts safe? How do we walk a woman through the steps of recognizing, oh, okay, maybe my anxiety, my anxious attachment, my chronic stress is, I won't even say maybe, it is having an effect on your body. It is having an effect on your relationships. So now what?
Yeah. So the easiest entry point before I get too deep
Uh-huh.
because it's complicated is to ask yourself what would my inner critic need to see me doing to feel a little safer?
Mm,
To feel like, oh, she doesn't need my protection. She's okay.
she's got this.
She's got this. She's meeting her needs. She's advocating for herself. She's speaking up. She's about, like, and I think that can help us to start landing on an intuitive, like, prescription of what's the first step. Like for me, it was when my protectors started seeing that I was writing and like happy and like creative and expressing myself. It was like, oh, we can calm down a little. It's okay. She's okay. Look at her. She's okay. Right? Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's looking for those opportunities to really ground ourselves in the present and do the things that it's like if you think about like a protective parent,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
Child, why would a parent get really hyper like
Done.
helicoptery and protective, right?
Right. It's fear. It's, I want to keep my
Fear.
child safe. Yes.
Yeah. And so if they see their child doing things safely, they're gonna calm down a little, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, we just got to start looking at what that is. And I think we got to really tap into our needs and our desires there to get there. But like, I'm trying to think of a specific example for the listener. Um, so I'll give you, okay, so just recently, one of the work I did with a client, we were tapping into this, and this is someone that's been just back and forth into PT clinics, acupuncture, all these things, trying to and has a lot of stress in their life, things that are outside of their control that they can't control and change, right?
Right.
What do you do with that? And so you get relief for a minute and then you go right back into the context of your life and
Mhm.
none of the things you're doing is sustainable, right?
Right.
And so and that just leads to a lot of frustration and you go from all this fight or flight energy trying to do everything and
Mhm.
you shut down and then what happens to your body? When you go shut down, you're in a freeze response, your whole body's conserving energy and everything just gets worse.
Oh, yes.
Immune system depression, just holding on to fluids, all of that stuff is happening because the body thinks that the only way to keep you safe is to shut down.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that she landed on just beautifully and intuitively today was just like we kind of gave a voice to we looked at where she was holding stuff today and it was in her gut. And then kind of like, okay, if she'd already talked to her body about how mad she was at her body. Like, so we vented all of that. But then it's like,
Yeah.
then we looked at what the body might be doing for her. But then it was like, okay, what is your gut? What might your gut be doing for you? Well, she just sat there for a while and it was like, yeah, I'm holding on for you. I'm trying
Mm.
to hold for you, just like you were talking about with the book. I'm
Mhm.
trying to hold, I'm holding on to the fluid. I'm holding on to this. I'm holding on to all the, I'm not letting your bowels release. I'm just holding
Yeah.
everything, right?
Oh.
And as we begin to look at that, we were able to finally kind of tap into what would it look like to just let go a little bit and then what gets in the way of that, right?
Mhm.
And we began working with these protective parts and these manager parts that are constantly trying to manage everything for her, keeping things, so she doesn't get overwhelmed, so she doesn't get, reacting to everything. And just she has this pattern of like she could access her anger, right? Like
Yeah.
she could get angry.
Anger is a much easier emotion.
Yeah. Anger also takes a lot of energy.
It does. Yeah. But also because it's masking other emotions as well.
Right. And
Yeah.
so that's where we started to get to, like, she really needed to be able to get under there because she was talking about it being at the place of, I'm really close to borderline depression here. I'm really like, I hate my life and I feel guilty for hating my life. But she just began to describe the entrapment she felt like there's no solution here. I can't get out. And imagine what that feels like in the body, right?
Yes. Yes.
No wonder the body shuts down.
Right.
But it was like this protective part would never give her space to even shed a tear. There was no access to sadness, no access to emotion
Mm.
because she couldn't find the safety to have the safety to cry. And if she did cry, who was gonna meet her in that
Wow.
and have a corrective experience? She wouldn't be met with empathy. What might happen? And that began to, if my husband saw me cry and he couldn't meet me in empathy, he might leave me actually.
Yes.
And so you hear the risk. We know we need to cry. We know we need to release. We know that's the one thing we can do in the midst of our stress is to let that stuff out. But our protectors are so fiercely holding us, thinking that if you let that out, it's not going to be safe. And how many women have learned that pattern over the years? Haven't
Absolutely.
been met with a corrective experience of emotional safety when they cry.
Mhm.
And so the one thing that the action step that she was taking today, she couldn't even find the safety to let it out with me. And we know we have really good rapport. And so we used journaling. Gave her some space. We got off the call and um left her where she left off. I'm like, she just really knew that she could not access the tears without the anger. She had to go through the anger to get there,
Yep.
right?
Right.
But she didn't wanna do it in person over and over again because it's not super effective. So,
Yeah.
yeah, pull up a journal and be raw and get it out. I hate my life, and I feel really bad that I my daughter is the source of my stress, and I feel so guilty for saying that, but I can feel
Right.
okay that she's not in the room, but I can't,
Yes.
like, that's stuff we don't say out loud,
It's
right?
powerful. Yeah, it's powerful.
So, just giving her the space to get there so she could tap into the next emotion and learning to reparent herself and meet herself with compassion on the other side of that.
My good.
And that yeah, so hope we'll see how it went, but
Well,
that's the
especially
entry point.
that's a phenomenal entry point, and especially when you talk about meeting yourself with compassion on the other side. Because when we don't get external compassion and, I actually talk in my book about complex shame and how part of how that gets developed is that we have this shame. We try to be vulnerable about it. We don't get that external compassion that can help
Mm,
relieve shame, right? And so instead the shame just dives deeper.
yeah,
And when we are able to take the steps to give our own selves compassion. Really, it's forgiveness, but
mhm,
compassion is a part of that, right? Our byproduct maybe of forgiveness. Then we're able to start that healing process. Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you.
yeah, and the thing you just said there about forgiveness, and you were talking about self-abandonment earlier, like, that forgiveness practice, I think, comes back to that because, like, one of the things that she landed on, and again, this is true for so many, it just reflects everything that most of us experience is when we get into this protective energy, we are constantly self abandoning because that part that needs to cry, that part that needs to be held, that part that's crying out to be heard, to be supported, to do less,
Mhm.
to rest,
Mm,
keeps getting pushed to the back burner to do all the things
right.
that will keep you from feeling the vulnerability of that. And so we're abandoning our younger self over and over and over again, and we think that maybe it's our husband or maybe it's this person that can correct that when really we gotta learn how to meet ourselves in that.
We do. We
Yeah,
do. Wow,
right.
that is so powerful. And the irony of it, right? Especially for someone who has an insecure attachment, who's wanting that acceptance and looking for that, feeling abandoned maybe in their relationship, and then abandoning themselves.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But we can change that. We can
Yes, we can.
reverse that. Yes, we can. We can by paying attention to our needs,
Yeah,
by allowing them to matter, by expressing them, by understanding the things that we're doing in relationship, right? To even distance and hurt ourselves.
yeah, yeah, and it's such a beautiful process to experience and witness, like,
Mhm.
it's just like, yeah, like, again, it's like all the things that wounded us when we were younger get those wounds start to get healed, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
And many people don't think about even if you're not having any physical manifestations of your stress or pain or, attachment issues or relationship issues, they're there,
yeah,
right?
and how else do you see them manifesting? If it's not in the body, where else do we see it, did you say?
If it's not well, what I'm saying is that it's in the body
Oh,
somewhere.
it's in the body,
Even if
yes.
you are not aware of it,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there.
Yeah,
It's there.
that's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, yeah, the body holds all of our experiences.
It does, and sometimes we become it's kind of like that smell in the room, right? Over time, you don't smell it anymore. And
Mhm.
sometimes that happens in our body when we're having a physical manifestation that it's there and we learn how to kind of work around it. But it's usually going to become worse and chronic, right? Or sometimes we're not aware of it until it comes to, and it builds up to a point. But
Yeah.
if we recognize that our stress, that our relationship issues are affecting our body, if we pay attention to it and we honor that, then
Mm.
even before we feel it, even before it becomes such a glaring symptom, we can
Mhm.
start to work on that and release it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, what's one of the ways that you do that personally? Do you know? Like
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I have so many practices.
Yeah.
One is my prayer and meditation in the morning, which are an absolute for me. The other is physical activity. And I'm
Mhm.
also a very big proponent of physical activity combined with words, with speaking out loud. So
Mhm.
I will go on walks and I will record myself because it feels like I'm doing something productive instead of just talking to no one. But I will put on a recorder and I'll talk and speak and talk about the things that are going on with me. I also journal. Exercise for me is very big. Um, so those are things that I do regularly to purge both my shame, my stress,
Mhm.
um, those things that I know are happening on the outside that are affecting me on the inside. And also yoga, really for me, stretching, I do hanging too, like bar hanging, just to kind of release things out of my joints, release those pressure in my joints. So I'm very intentional about releasing those things from my
Yeah.
body.
Those all the way you describe it, those all sound like self-connection practices too.
Tell me more about that.
So, like, one of the things we think of when we think of exercise and getting in our bodies, we think about, yeah, I'm just caring for my body, or I'm moving to release stress, or I'm, trying to grow stronger, or whatever, builds our confidence, all of that stuff. But what I've realized is I grew up in a Christian home, and a lot of the clients that I work with are Christians. And so, a lot of times when we're looking for support,
Mhm.
or relief, or we're looking to God outside of ourselves, and we don't realize that to access peace, we have to ground in our bodies
Right. Yes.
because the spirit lives in our bodies. It's within us. So we have to connect into our body in order to
Mm.
feel that.
Mhm.
And so moving and getting in our body helps to get us out of our heads, reconnect with our body, get us grounded, right?
Right.
Which is why it's so good for anxiety.
Yes.
And yeah, just so, and for me, like, we have such, sometimes we think of the body, like my client today, like, we're mad at our body, we're frustrated with our body, or we're pushing our body, and we don't have the best relationship with our body.
Right.
And so we can go into exercise where we're just trying to, push ourselves, or, instead of relating and connecting to ourselves within our body, and like embodying ourselves as we're doing what we're doing. Does that make sense?
That does, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That even just helps me shift a little bit in my mindset as I go through, my intentional movements, so that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. It's kinda like I remember when I first started implying this, I was walking up a hill behind my husband one day and trying to push myself and trying to catch up with him,
Mhm.
and started realizing, "Slow down and just be with yourself here. Like, quit getting ahead, be with yourself here. Like, come back into your body
Yeah,
and be, like, with your body as you're going up the hill instead of trying to pull your body up the hill." Does that
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely, and especially when you said, "Be with your body," like, come back into your body.
Mhm.
I've worked with a number of women who have a really hard time being
Yeah.
in their body, that it feels unsafe, right, in
It's
some
the
way.
source of a lot of trauma, yeah.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
be, and so I would just encourage that woman who might have had that response, like, "That's scary for me, I don't know if I can do that," to just try moments, not
Mhm.
5 minutes, not 10 minutes, but maybe 30 seconds, and you can come
Mhm.
back out, um, because sometimes too much time, like, even a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes feels like too much, and so start small.
Yeah.
Start really small.
Yeah. And bringing in those safety resources, like, sometimes one of the practices I really like, I bring in a lot of somatic practices now, just body-based practices,
Mhm.
and it's same, like, a lot of times we're just heads floating on a body, and we
Yes.
don't connection, and usually if you're not connecting to your emotions, you're probably disconnected from the body too,
Mhm,
because it doesn't feel like a safe place to be.
mhm.
But, like, just, like, looking out on my window right now, if I can just look out and watch the branches on my tree and the leaves
Yeah.
moving a bit and begin to feel that sensation and find where that is in my body, like, and just kinda bring it in.
Mhm,
It's a way to just take this safety and this when my body starts to mirror it, and then I can find it, and that way I'm not trying to go into the pain, I'm not trying to go
right.
to the does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a really I
yeah.
like that practice, but yeah.
You're just attaching yourself to the beauty that's in your body. Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, it starts to it's mirroring it because it's like the body wants to move like that, and but if
yeah.
you can find that felt sense of what you feel as you look at it and locate it in the body and just connect it with it for a moment, and go back to the tree,
Mhm,
right? Back you don't have to stay. Just
mhm.
that yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Kate. This has been just an amazing conversation. Um, First, how can people find your book? It's coming out soon. Can you tell us about it?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's called The Good Girl Prescription. And I think the subheading is Breaking Free from Good Girl Syndrome to Heal Your Body, Transform Your Relationships, and Uplevel Your Confidence. And yeah, it's available anywhere books are sold, Amazon and all of that. But the book basically comes from my journey through my own journey and the clients that I worked with, and realizing that um, really just the hidden stressors that are impacting us and keeping us stuck and keeping us from moving into all we want for our body, our relationships, and
Mm,
even our goals, like writing a book or moving forward in our careers. Like just getting a better understanding of what's happening inside of us, getting to know ourselves, getting to know our bodies, so that we can support ourselves. Yeah, so that in yeah, I the other thing that maybe they'd be interested, I'm trying to create some bonuses right now to go with the book, or I have created some,
mhm,
and one of them is a guided journaling process to help us to reconnect, with the parts in ourselves that really need empathy, that really need to be heard, to find our voices. And so, that's when you pre-order the book, you'll get that as a bonus, and some other goodies. So yeah.
oh, excellent. Okay, so they can pre-order it, and do they just need to contact you, go to your website, or DM you?
Yeah, there's a page on my website where they can find the book and the pre-order link right
Awesome.
there.
Okay,
That's probably the best thing. KateBartley, .com is my website. So
I will put that in the show notes. Do you have one last word of encouragement for a woman who is recognizing a lot of the things that we talked about here today and wants to really take those steps?
yeah, I think first of all, I just want to say you're exactly where you're supposed to be today, right now.
Mhm.
That all of our past and all of our learnings and everything we've tried, all leads us to the next steps and where we are today. And so you're not, um, all of those help us to shape our insights and moving forward. But I would say start with just appreciating whatever's coming up right now as you're listening to the conversation. Just be with it. Let it be whatever it is. And honor what your body or your soul is crying out for more of right now, whatever it is, whatever's feeling inviting. The way that we build self trust, the way that we move forward is we just begin to guide ourselves and lead ourselves into the one little thing of exploration. And so if you're feeling led to check out the book, let yourself check out the book. If you're feeling led to, have a conversation with somebody to explore what you just listened to, you know, call somebody on the phone and talk about it. Like, just listen to the invitation, and just take that next tiny baby step. Mm.
Wow, that's so powerful. Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for writing your book, and we wish you the best as it launches.
Thank you. It's been great to talk with you. I love talking with people that understand what I've experienced and have the same passions that I do. So yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Zoe.